Coco Gauff stood alone on the tennis court, the sun just beginning to rise behind the empty stadium. Her racket swung back and forth, the sound of each hit echoing softly in the quiet morning. Sweat ran down her forehead, but she didn't notice. It was just another day of training for her, another step closer to her dreams. Suddenly her phone buzzed in her bag. A notification popped up on the screen. It was a news alert and the headline made her pause. Italian billionaire offers Coco Gauff's family $200,000 a month. Coco's eyes widened. She stared at the words for a long moment, trying to process what she had just read. The idea seemed unreal, almost too big to believe. She felt a mixture of surprise, confusion, and an unexpected twinge of worry. What would this mean for her family, for her career? Could money ever change the love and trust she shared with her parents? In that moment, Coco realised that her life was about to take a turn she had never imagined, and there was no way to predict how her family would react to such an incredible offer. Coco Gauff wasn't just any young tennis player. She was a rising star, known for her speed, focus and determination on the court. From a very young age, she had poured her heart into tennis, waking up before sunrise to practice, travelling from city to city for tournaments, and pushing herself past limits most people her age couldn't imagine. But behind all the trophies and headlines was a family that grounded her, kept her humble, and reminded her what truly mattered. Her parents, both hardworking and loving, had sacrificed a lot to support her dreams. Her mother, gentle and patient, always made sure Coco ate well and rested properly, while her father, firm but kind, balanced encouragement with the discipline needed to stay focused. Despite their different personalities, they shared one thing, an unwavering belief in Coco's talent and a commitment to keep her childhood as normal as possible. Whether it was a quiet evening at home, sharing dinner after a long day of practice, or sitting together in the stands during tournaments, the family had a bond built on trust, love, and shared sacrifice. They weren't wealthy, but they had each other. And for Coco, that had always been more important than any trophy, headline, or amount of money. A few days after the news alert, Coco and her parents received an official letter from the Italian billionaire. The offer was astonishing, $200,000 every month sent directly to her parents, with no strings attached to Coco's career. Or so it seemed. At first, Coco couldn't believe it. She read the letter again and again, checking for any hidden conditions, any catch that might make this feel less like a gift and more like a trap. Her parents sat quietly beside her, faces pale but full of emotion. Her mother's hands trembled slightly as she clutched the envelope, while her father ran his fingers through his hair, a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope in his eyes. They had worked tirelessly to give Coco the opportunities she deserved, often putting their own needs aside, and suddenly a life-changing sum of money was being offered just for being her family. But even with such an incredible opportunity, there was tension in the room. Coco felt a wave of guilt and confusion. Could she accept this without feeling like she owed someone her success? Her parents felt torn too. The offer could ease all their financial worries and give them a chance to finally relax, yet it also felt strange to be paid for their daughter's achievements in such a direct way. The room was heavy with unspoken questions, and Coco realised that the next decision wouldn't be about money alone. It would test their values, trust, and the bond that held them together. The day after receiving the offer, Coco couldn't focus on anything, even on the court. Every serve and every swing felt heavy, weighed down by questions she couldn't shake. Her parents tried to act normal, but the tension was visible in every small gesture. Her mother lingered longer at the kitchen table, staring at bills she no longer had to worry about, but couldn't bring herself to imagine a life so different. Her father kept pacing, muttering under his breath, fighting the conflict between relief and unease. Coco sat in the corner of the living room, hugging her knees, feeling the weight of the world pressed down on her shoulders. She thought about everything her parents had done for her, the long nights driving her to practice, the sacrifices they made, the money they gave up so she could pursue her dream. And now someone was offering them a fortune, an amount of money that could solve almost every problem they had ever faced. Yet it didn't feel simple. It felt like a test of their values, of who they were as a family. Could love really stay pure when money entered the equation? Could they trust that accepting such wealth wouldn't change them or their relationship? Coco finally spoke, her voice barely audible. Mom, Dad, I don't know how I feel. It's not just money. It's like it could change everything. Will we still be the same family if we say yes? Her mother reached over, holding her hands with a trembling warmth, whispering, Coco, we'll never let money change what we have. But it's okay to feel scared. We are too. Her father, silent for a long moment, finally joined in. It's not easy. This is more than just money. It's a spotlight on everything we've done, everything we've sacrificed. We don't want to lose the simple life we've built with you. For hours they sat together, neither accepting nor rejecting the offer, just talking, remembering the moments that defined them. Late night homework sessions, cheering for Coco at small local tournaments. The quiet walks after practice when her parents taught her life lessons she didn't realise she was learning. Coco realised the offer wasn't just money. It was a mirror, showing her the fragility and beauty of their bond. She felt tears sting her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming love and responsibility she felt toward the people who had given her everything. The house felt heavy. Yet in that weight, there was clarity. No amount of money could replace the trust, support and love they shared. By the end of the day, Coco and her parents were emotionally drained, but closer than ever. They understood that this decision wouldn't just be about accepting or refusing money. It would be about protecting the values that define them and about remembering that the strongest victories in life weren't measured in dollars, but in the depth of their connections and the integrity with which they lived. After the initial shock of the billionaire's offer, the house was unusually quiet. Coco sat on the edge of the couch, her tennis racket resting beside her, as if even holding it might somehow make the moment less real. She watched her parents searching their faces for guidance, but instead she saw the conflict reflected in their eyes. Her mother was quietly wiping tears, torn between excitement and the fear of being judged for even considering such a sum. Her father, normally so composed, had a tight jaw and deep furrows on his forehead, clearly battling the weight of an impossible decision. Coco felt a rush of emotions, gratitude, guilt, confusion, and a strange sense of fear. Could money change her family? Would accepting it alter the way they all related to each other? She finally broke the silence. Mom, Dad, I don't want this to change us. I don't want to feel like you're doing this because you think I owe it to someone else. Her voice shook, barely above a whisper, revealing the depth of her inner turmoil. Her mother reached for her hand and said softly, Coco, we never want you to feel pressured. We love you for who you are, not for what you win. Her father nodded, adding, it's hard. We've sacrificed so much for you, and it could make a life easier for us, but it feels strange. Money like this isn't just money. It's a responsibility, a reminder of how much the world is watching you. Coco leaned back and closed her eyes, feeling overwhelmed. She loved her parents more than anything, but the offer forced her to confront a reality she had never faced, that sometimes even the people you love most have to make choices you don't fully control. For the first time, she wondered if the family they were, grounded in love and simplicity, could survive the allure of such immense wealth. And yet, despite the fear, a small voice inside reminded her that the answer wasn't about the money. It was about staying true to themselves. The tension in the room was almost unbearable, but it also reminded them why they were a family, because they could face impossible choices together, and the strength of their bond mattered far more than any amount of money. After days of reflection, sleepless nights, and endless conversations, the moment of decision finally arrived. Coco and her parents gathered around the kitchen table, the envelope containing the billionaire's offer lying in front of them like a symbol of temptation and challenge. The room was quiet, each of them lost in thought, feeling the weight of what was at stake, not just the money, but their family, their values, and the integrity that had guided them all these years. Coco took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly together, and finally spoke. "I've been thinking. This money could make life easier for all of us. But I realise that what matters most isn't comfort. It's staying true to ourselves and staying together as a family." Her parents looked at her, eyes filled with tears. Her father reached out, placing his hand over hers and said, "Coco, we're proud of you. You've reminded us what really matters. We don't need a billionaire to define our worth or our happiness. We have each other, and that's enough." Her mother nodded, her voice breaking slightly. "It's not an easy decision, but it's the right one. We won't let money change us or the bond we share." Coco felt a wave of relief wash over her. The tension that had held the house captive for days seemed to dissolve. She hugged her parents tightly, feeling the weight of fear and doubt lift, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and unity. In that moment, Coco understood something powerful. Life would always present choices that challenged values and loyalty, but the true measure of success wasn't in wealth or fame. It was in love, integrity, and the courage to do what feels right, even when it's hard. For Coco, this decision was more than a rejection of money. It was a reaffirmation of everything her family had taught her, that happiness isn't bought, it's nurtured, that victories aren't measured by awards or checks, but by the depth of the connections we protect and cherish. And as they sat together, holding hands and smiling through tears, Coco realised she had won something far greater than any prize on the tennis court. A family bound by trust, love and unshakable values. In the days that followed, life slowly returned to its familiar rhythm. But something had changed, quietly, profoundly. Coco continued her training with renewed focus, every swing of her racket now carrying a deeper sense of purpose. She felt lighter, unburdened by doubt, knowing her family's love and trust were stronger than any offer or distraction. Her parents watched her with pride, not because of trophies or headlines, but because of the young woman she was becoming. Grounded, compassionate, and true to herself, they shared small moments of joy, laughing over simple dinners, celebrating victories on and off the court, and finding comfort in the ordinary beauty of their life together. The offer from the billionaire was never mentioned again, not because it didn't matter, but because it no longer defined them. What remained was far more valuable. Their bond, their principles, and the lessons learned through the challenge of temptation and choice. Coco realised that her greatest victories weren't measured in money, fame, or applause. They were measured in the strength of her character, the depth of her family's love, and the courage to choose what was right, even when it was hard. As the sun set over the tennis courts that evening, Coco smiled, feeling at peace. Life would always bring tests and unexpected opportunities, but now she knew something essential. With family by her side and values guiding her, she could face anything the world had to offer. In the quiet days that followed, life slowly settled back into its familiar rhythm. But the experience had left a mark on Coco and her family that would never fade. Coco continued her training, each practice filled with a renewed sense of purpose. But more than that, she carried a profound gratitude in her heart. Every swing of her racket reminded her of the sacrifices her parents had made, of the love that had lifted her higher than any trophy ever could. Her parents watched her, eyes glistening with pride. Not for the victory she earned on the court, but for the young woman she was becoming, brave, kind, and unwavering in her values. One evening, as they sat together after a long day of practice, Coco's mother gently took her hand. "We don't need money to feel rich," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You've already given us the greatest gift, your heart, your honesty, and your love." Her father nodded, wrapping his arms around both of them. "No offer in the world could ever replace this," he said, voice thick with emotion. Coco leaned into their embrace, feeling warmth spread through her chest, a mix of relief, love, and an overwhelming sense of belonging. She realised in that moment that true success was never about fame or fortune. It was about protecting what mattered most, cherishing those you love, and standing by your values even when the world tries to tempt you away. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and pink, Coco whispered softly, "We have everything we need right here." And in that quiet, tender moment, they all knew it was true. Money could never buy the trust, the laughter, the sacrifices, and the love that bound them together. That night, as they sat together, hearts full and tears mingling with smiles, they realised something simple yet extraordinary. The greatest victories in life are not measured in dollars or applause. They are measured in love, loyalty, and the courage to stay true to yourself and your family. As Coco's story comes to a close, one question lingers in the air, leaving everyone who hears it reflecting on their own lives. What would you do if your family was offered millions for your success? It's a question about values, love, and choices, something far bigger than money itself. Coco's journey reminds us that true victories aren't always measured on the court, in trophies, or in wealth, but in the courage to stay true to ourselves and the people we love. And now it's your turn to think, how far would you go to protect what matters most?